Hello everybody, my name is Isaac. Welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to show you how I built two high-performing 1080p gaming PCs for only $800. I'm actually new to building PCs, and I created this channel as an opportunity to show you all my journey building gaming PCs and selling them locally. Before we get started with the video, I just want to thank my family, my girlfriend, and everyone who has supported me. Without you guys, I would not be where I am today. I really appreciate all of the support. You guys are the best. I also want to shout out Elijah's Labs, Toasty Bros, Oz Talks Hardware, Zach's Tech Turf, Scattervol, and Luke's PC Flips for inspiring me to create this channel. You have all helped inform me, guide me, and motivate me to create this channel and actually try to build computers on my own. I appreciate all of you. All right, let's get straight to it. For my first build, I created a budget 1080p gaming PC with used and new parts for only $279. Now, disclaimer, this PC is using used parts, but these are used parts that I actually used in my old computer build from about 5 years ago. So I'm not including them in the price of the build because to me, I didn't have to pay any money for them. I already had them. If you did build a similar PC, you can probably get the same build for close to $400. But as of recording this, the PC costs an estimated $650 when I used PC Part Picker to choose each exact part. The parts that PC Part Picker had listed without a price, I estimated the price by finding the parts online. But if you buy the CPU and GPU from AliExpress, you can definitely get this build to around $400. For this build, I used a Ryzen 5 2600 6-core processor, an Asus Prime B450M-A2 MicroATX AM4 motherboard, two 16GB sticks of King Spec DDR4 RAM clocked at 3200 MHz with a cast latency of 18, an MSI Armor Mark II overclocked Radeon RX 580 8GB graphics card, a King Spec NX 2280 512GB M.2 NVMe SSD Generation 3, the Thermaltake Assassin X 120 SE CPU air cooler, the DIY PC ARGB Q3 V2 white MicroATX case, some white easy DIY fab power cable extensions, and I used a EVGA Supernova G2 550 watt power supply. Let's get this PC built and I'll see you guys soon. All right, guys, as you can see, I got the PC built. Looks like everything's running fine. Tomorrow, I'm gonna set up the RAM profile for the computer, make sure I can get that 32 gigs of RAM running at a good speed. But it's late and I need to get to bed. And first thing tomorrow, I will get this PC set up and get everything enabled in the motherboard, install Windows, and then I can start running some benchmarks. I'll see you guys tomorrow. All right, I'm back. We finished building the PC last night. So today I'm just gonna clean everything up, get everything sorted, and get the PC set up, install Windows, then do some things in the BIOS to overclock our RAM, make sure everything's running in the proper settings for gaming performance. And yeah, so we'll see how it goes. Looks like everything's good so far. We'll get to gaming and check out the performance of this computer and see how well it does in our benchmarks. Dropping into Call of Duty Warzone with a balanced quality preset, we were getting about 85 to 100 FPS. I would see an average of about 85 FPS to 90, and it played very well, very smooth. I didn't experience any stuttering, and it looked visually really good. I also liked how the GPU stayed at a reasonable temperature, but also the CPU was at a very cool temperature while playing this game, about 50 to 60% utilization, so that was really good to see. And that air cooler, for how cheap it is, works very well with this PC. Also, I realized that even though I turned on FSR 3.0, I actually forgot to turn on frame generation, so really we probably would have got about 100 to 120 FPS. I didn't actually test this though, because by the time I realized it, I had already unplugged everything from the computer and packaged it ready for sale. So yeah, but overall, this thing plays Call of Duty Warzone like a champ. Really great PC for playing this game. Playing Fortnite at a high quality preset, view distance far, frame limit 120. We were getting at first some stuttering, but not very much at all with this PC. I also liked how the GPU is being fully utilized, which is good. Our CPU utilization was very high initially, but we kept really good temperatures on our GPU and CPU. Once I got more into the game and things started loading in, we were getting about roughly 70 to 85 FPS. I would say an average of about 80 to 85 at times. We'd get highs of about 90, 95. This is in DirectX 12 also. Overall, really happy with the performance. It looked really great. I don't know if this game got optimized more recently or something, but I thought this was like a really good experience on this computer. I definitely would not have expected it to perform this well with this game. Yeah, overall, this computer kicks butt at playing Fortnite, which was very surprising to me. But I was really happy that this game being so CPU intensive, that 2600 was still doing really good for this title. So overall, really happy with how this PC performed playing this game. Now in Counter-Strike 2, on a medium quality preset DirectX 11, we were getting between 100 to 120 FPS. The only thing that was weird is that I did experience some major stuttering early on, and it almost seemed like my game was going to crash. But after letting it load for a little bit and playing for more than a couple minutes, things started to even out. But I kept getting some random drops in my GPU utilization that would go down to like almost 0%. Overall, even though the visual quality wasn't that great, we were still getting some really good FPS, and it was definitely playable. We were getting a really solid FPS of 100 to 120. Altogether, I spent $279 to build this PC, and I listed it on Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp for $600. But let me know in the comments what you think I should sell this PC for. On both platforms, I've gotten lots of clicks, but so far no messages. So hopefully someone will message me soon and maybe make me an offer, and I can lower the price and get it sold. Now let's get into the next PC that I built. For this PC, I spent about $535 after tax and shipping. I used more high-end parts for a better 1080p gaming experience, but I believe this PC could also probably play games in 1440p low settings. This computer doesn't really have the aesthetics as the other computer, as it didn't come with ARGB fans, and I wasn't able to actually get the ARGB to work on the CPU cooler block or the fans for the radiator. So I'll have to actually buy an ARGB hub later on, and hopefully I can get those working, since the only thing that's actually lighting up in this computer is the graphics card and the RAM, and it just kind of looks weird. But I didn't really go for aesthetics in this build. I went more for performance. This computer is going to be for my girlfriend's son for Christmas, and I wanted something with good price to performance that could play all esports titles, since he really only plays like Fortnite and Roblox, but something that could also play single player games that are more demanding. So with this build, there were a lot of mistakes that I made, since I'm not very good at building computers. There were some things I ran into that I wasn't really sure about, and it almost was really bad because I thought this computer wasn't even going to end up working because of the mistakes I made. So hopefully I can help some people out who are just beginning to build computers. And if you guys run into the same problems that I did, maybe I can help. But yeah, I'll go more into depth into the different problems I had when building this computer. Also, I wanted to apologize because I didn't really get that much footage when I was building this computer because of all the different problems that I had. It was really difficult for me to film and troubleshoot at the same time. So there was lots of jumps in the footage of me having completed a lot of different things, and I didn't really get that much footage. So hopefully also my filming skills and editing skills get better as time goes on. This is all really new to me, and I just thank all of you for your patience, and hopefully you still enjoy the video. So let's get into the parts that I used. For this computer, I used a Ryzen 5 5500 6-core processor, an MSI X470 Gaming Plus ATX AM4 motherboard, 4 8GB sticks of Team Group T-Force Delta DDR4 RAM at 3200 MHz cast latency 16, the Power Color RX 6600 Hellhound 8GB graphics card, a Kingspec NX 2280 1TB M.2 SSD Generation 3, and a Samsung 850 EVO 500GB SATA SSD, the Thermalright Aqua Elite V3 liquid CPU cooler, the Magnum Gear Neo Air 2 ATX mid-tower case, and an MSI Mag A650 80 Plus bronze power supply. Now, let's go to the footage of me building this PC. So we got that computer built, and as you can see, I didn't have very much footage, so I do apologize again. So the first problem that I ran into with this computer was the case. So on the description of the case on Newegg, it says it can support up to a 360 millimeter AIO up top inside. And I believe this is definitely true. The only thing is if you have some chonky RAM like I had, Team Group T-Force Delta RAM, that RAM is so tall, I guess you could say, that the AIO, which I had a 240 millimeter, was actually being blocked by the RAM. So it wouldn't really fit in the top of the case like I had intended it to. Now it would fit, but it was pushing up against the RAM, and how it was set up, I couldn't get it aligned for the radiator. So I only could get like 4 screws in there, and it seemed just super sketchy because it was pushing up hard against the RAM once I started tightening the screws. So I had to ditch that whole idea of mounting the AIO up top And instead I had to front mount the AIO, which the only thing I didn't like about that is the fact that now I have 4 exhaust fans and the only 2 fans intaking are from the AIO, which I know everyone in the comments are probably going to be like, what are you thinking? But the problem is I wanted to keep one of the fans up front to where we had 3 fans altogether intaking air. But because, again, of the case, the AIO being mounted in the front, it wouldn't allow for that 3rd fan under it or above it. So yeah, this case gave me some complications there, and that was a headache in itself. Then after all of that, I ran into another issue, which I'm sure a lot of people won't have this problem, but you definitely want to do your research when you do something like this. I wanted to keep the Windows activation that I had on the SSD, which was the Evo. That's an old SSD that I had that already had Windows 10 activated on it. Now, I probably am completely wrong about this, but for some reason I thought that in order to keep your Windows activation, you had to keep the OS that originally was activated from the original hard drive or SSD. So I got a program that let me transfer my operating system from the old SSD over to the new M.2 1 terabyte SSD that I had. So I did all that, but while I was doing that, I basically found out that storage devices are formatted in certain ways that is actually very important. So I guess the old format was MBR, and I didn't realize that if you have your storage devices formatted this way, it ends up creating a bunch of problems where your BIOS and other things like your operating system won't work properly if you're trying to run a newer operating system like Windows 11. So when I transferred over the OS, both of my storage drives were formatted as MBR. Well, then everything was okay after I did that, but me wanting to just get a little bit more performance and make this computer better, I wanted to upgrade to Windows 11. So I downloaded a Windows 11 installation. I put it in the computer, tried to install Windows 11, but it wouldn't work because storage device wasn't formatted for GPT, which is the new format for storage devices. And basically, once I realized that, I thought, oh, well, in the Windows installation, there's an option that says format. So I thought, oh, maybe it'll just format it for me right here. So I clicked my SSD that had my new operating system on it that I transferred over from the other storage drive, and I clicked format, which then broke my installation of Windows and basically almost bricked the computer because now my computer wouldn't boot into the operating system, and all I could get into was basically the BIOS. Fortunately, the Windows repair prompt still came up, but none of the features that it had would work. I couldn't repair Windows. I couldn't go back to a previous version of Windows or anything or reinstall from the computer because I had basically erased the hard drive when I reformatted it. And yeah, never do that. Whatever you do in the Windows installation, if it says format, do not format drive that has your operating system on it. You would think that's pretty straightforward, but someone like me who's not that experienced ran into that mistake because, yeah, I'm kind of slow. So I thought that I basically had just bricked the computer because now I had no way to get into the operating system to then format the SSD into GPT. So now when I tried to reinstall Windows 10 on a fresh installation using a USB, it wouldn't let me install it to that drive. And when I tried to install Windows 11, it wouldn't let me install it to that drive. Neither installation would work, and I just had a broken version of Windows that I could not repair. So I thought, yeah, I'm screwed. There's no way I'm going to be able to do this. I was thinking I was going to end up having to take out the whole SSD from the computer, plug it into a computer that has an SSD slot available so that I can then get into that SSD on the other computer and reformat that SSD into GPT and then reinstall Windows after I pulled that out and put it back in the old computer. Fortunately, Microsoft has a feature where if you go into the command prompt, you can actually bring up a command that lets you format the disk. It basically lets you format any storage drive that's on your computer. So through that command prompt that I was still able to access the command prompt from the Windows repair prompt. That allowed me to then reformat the drive into GPT, which then allowed me to reinstall Windows 10. And then I realized I could have just done that from the beginning and then go onto the Windows website and then install Windows 11 and upgrade basically from my Windows 10 OS. So it led to a huge headache and hours of frustration and research trying to figure this out. And luckily I was able to fix it. And the great thing about me being able to upgrade to Windows 11 is now I could run the BIOS in the UFEI setting, I believe it's called, or UFIE, which then allowed me to enable resizable bar, which then basically would help my GPU have better performance. So it all worked out. The computer worked good. I'm gonna quit blabbing. I actually, while recording this earlier today, had sold the first PC that we built, and I'll go over to that footage now. All right, guys. I just met up with somebody from Facebook Marketplace, and they were really cool, and everything went well. We ended up negotiating for about $500. I sold it. So to me, that's still a profit of about $250 altogether, or $230, I think, something like that. I'll post the profit on the video after I edit it. But yeah, everything went well, and I'm really happy. We actually sold our first computer, so things are actually working out. So yeah, we got it sold, and I probably could have bargained for a higher price. The listing sat for about 10 days altogether, not counting the days on OfferUp, because on OfferUp it was listed later. So it was actually only on OfferUp for probably about 7 days. I got one request on OfferUp for a trade when I said that I wasn't going to take trades, but I still thanked the person. So it ended up working out, and I was just happy to finally make my first computer sell. The guy was really cool, and yeah, it was just a really good experience, and I hope that all of my future customers are just as cool as my first customer. Let's get into the benchmarks for this other computer. In Call of Duty Warzone, using the Ultra preset, FSR 3.0, frame generation on, we were getting about 180 to 200 FPS, and it ran very well. This just goes to show how well the RX 6600 still performs. This is a very good budget graphics card, and for me to get this card at $150, this was definitely a really good deal and very much worth it for the performance that we get. I actually bought this card refurbished from the manufacturer, and I think I might actually start doing this more often because the card was in really good shape and it seems to be performing very well. We got good temperatures, good utilization, and some really good FPS. Jumping into Fortnite, I was using a high quality preset on DirectX 12 view distance far with a 120 frame rate limit. At first we were getting some really bad stuttering, and I almost thought the game was going to freeze and crash for a second, but actually it ended up loading in and things started to balance out after a little bit. And we were getting about 75 to 85 FPS. I feel like in performance mode, it would have performed better. And for the higher FPS, that's probably recommended for an esports title like this. But overall, we got some really good FPS and the visuals looked really great. So I can't complain. And 80 FPS is definitely a playable experience for this game, and especially for how it looked. So overall, I was really satisfied with how this PC performed in this game. In CS2, using a high quality preset, we were getting between 120 to 160 FPS. This PC performed very well in this game, and just goes to show that the RX 6600 paired with this CPU, the 5500, is a very good combo and does well in all esports titles. And I'm also very curious how it would perform in single player games that are more graphically demanding. So there you go, guys. Those are the two computers that I built for around $800. In my next video, we're going to be gathering some parts to build a $500 PC that I'm going to sell for hopefully around $700. And spoiler, in my next video, I'll talk about what happened recently with me breaking my motherboard. And yeah, we'll go more in depth into that. Until next time, this is Fish, and thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it. Try not to get blown up.